cannot be successful without a vibrant business community, and customer service delivery is one of the fundamentals of a business. Being able to wow your customer builds your business and our region. I hope that you'll gain much insight from today and be able to take away some key points that could make your business or your service great. At the end of the day, it's all about what your customers experienced with your service or your product and how you made them feel. So I'd like to introduce Tina Wieringa. She is from Essencial Communications, who will be delivering our presentation today. Tina has a master's degree in adult education and comes from, originally from, one of your businesses, perhaps, Triarch Educational Services, where she worked with over 10 managers and 40 staff to put together programs and deliver different educational programs to people, both who changed careers, I think, and who were in transition to new businesses. So she has a lot of practical knowledge in program development, in coordination and evaluation, which has helped make her a really valuable member of the Essencial Communications team. So I hope that she'll be able to share a really interesting presentation with you today, and hope you enjoy. Thank you. Thanks, Tina.
All right, so as Teresa mentioned, my name is Tina Wieringa. I have operated my own business for over 20 years, and it is in adult education, so adults that are in transition, moving from one career into another. I've taught a variety of levels of education, from literacy to university level, and I'm now working with Essencial Communications and coordinating the Ontario Self-Employment Benefit Program for the Durham region. Customer service has been a part of my business, obviously, for the 20 years. It's also a major part of the Ontario Self-Employment Benefit Program. And the benefits of customer service to a small business owner are something that are truly valued and need to be valued by all. So what I'm going to speak to you about today, and it's going to be pretty quick. We're going to talk today about the essentials of customer service, and I'm going to expose to you the wow factor. We're going to move on. How far have you gone in your business, in your role in your business, to wow your customer? There's many people that may say to you, geez, they're asking a lot of me. I don't need to do that. That's not part of my job. However, in today's environment, we need to go above and beyond. We need to wow them. We need to ensure that we are able to bring that customer back. We need to ensure that they're able to come and see us again tomorrow and the next day. And how are we going to do that? Well, they need to know that you care about them. In our environment, we deal a lot with emails and online communication. The face-to-face communication is no longer at the forefront of our business. We need to make it a forefront. We need to make it something that they're going to come back and know who you are and know that you care about who they are. So discussing that, how do we know? How do they know that we truly care about them? What are some ideas? How can we say to them, we care about you? How do they know we care about them? Anybody have any ideas?
Following up with them.
Yes.
As
Following up?
Yeah.
And not necessarily and knowing how to communicate that follow-up. That follow-up is, if they're an email person, or they're a text person, or they're a Facebook person, whatever it may be, that communication needs to be followed up in a manner that they are comfortable with. So if you're always calling them, and you can tell that they're not comfortable, then you need to move to another form of communication where they are comfortable. How else can we tell? How else can we tell them that we actually care about them?
They come back, they're returning customers.
Yeah, so you know that you've shown you've cared because they're returning to you. But have you ever spoken to anyone and they're looking at you and you can tell like they're like, Everything you say is going right over their head. They're kind of like this, and yeah. That doesn't demonstrate you care. You need to actively listen to your customers. And a principle of adult education and adult training is that we actively listen to others. So listen to them, hear what they're saying. Repeat in your own mind what they're saying to you. Understand that they may have a dog at home and know that dog. Know the name of that dog. And the next day, find out, hey, how is your dog? How is Sam today? Write those things down. If you're on the phone communicating, you have a customer that has a PO that hasn't been shipped properly, they're going into everything, they've had a lot of stress at their home, communicate that with them. Care about that. Follow up with them the next day. So by showing you care, they're going to come back. They need to know also that you want them to be your customer. So how do we know, how can we get them to want to come to us the next day? How do they know we want them? Sure, we want their money. Okay, we want to have them look at us and say, wow, we want to come back to you. We want that business. But how do we prove to them we want that business? It's a little different than just caring. We can't just care for them. We can't just ask them how their dog is. But we have to deal with problems and concerns that they have, which I will discuss later in more detail. And we have to deal with them effectively, and we have to deal with them proactively. So what do I mean by being proactive? Foresee the future. Foresee what's going to happen tomorrow. So the last time something went out, you made a shipment. That shipment, there was 2 or 3 errors in it. Know the next time that probably could happen again, because maybe the postal code is wrong, or maybe the mailbox delivery system is not delivering it appropriately. You know that. Make sure it doesn't happen the next time. Then they know that you want them to come in the door. When you greet a customer, I don't know, it doesn't sound like a lot of people are in necessarily retail environments here. Okay, but when you're greeting a customer, even over the phone, you need to make sure that you make eye contact with them, and not just like this. Actually show you care, make eye contact with them, listen to them, and that will tell them that you want them to be your customer. They may have only spent $5 on your product or service. They may have spent $50,000 on your product or service. The $5 person could spend $50,000 tomorrow, and you don't know that at this point. But if they know that you want them to come back tomorrow, they're going to buy from you. So I'm going to go into a little more detail about how we actually do this. Know who your customer is. So a customer isn't necessarily a person walking into a retail environment. The Durham Region Local Training Board's customers are the community and the people within the community. They're the small business owners. They're the large corporations. They're anyone and everyone that is going to value the service offered by the Durham Region Local Training Board. Also know your customer in relation to their personality. Has anyone ever taken personality dimensions and understood the different colors of people? There's people that are orange and blue. Orange is a very driven and motivated person, whereas a blue is, you know, they're your emotional types. Know who that customer is. And if you know how to relate to that customer, then you can communicate better with them. Be an active listener. So listen to them. Don't just hear them. Don't just filter it in and let it go out. Identify and foresee their needs. And that could be anything in relation to they've purchased a product or service from you, and you know that in 6 months' time they're going to require a new belt for their lawnmower, then you're going to offer that. Know that they're going to need that. Put that into your calendar and make sure that you follow up with them. You have a customer, for instance, that you know needs some training in order to get to the next level of their career. Help them along with that. Go that extra mile. Make your customers feel like they're one of a kind. When they walk in that door, make them smile. If we smile every day, we're going to be happier and we're going to want to go back to places where we smile. So if you can make a person smile, they're going to come back to you. Help them to understand your product or service. In my business over the 20 years, I had returned customers mainly for the reason that I understood what their role was in their business. So for instance, I dealt a lot with caseworkers. They had a huge caseload. If I was able to minimize what they had to do in their caseload, then they came back to me. My fees were more expensive than others. They still came back because I was able to reduce what they had to do every day. How did I do that? I asked them. I talked to them. So when I do this and the student doesn't show up every day, what happens on your end? What do you have to do with that? Well, we have to write a letter and we have to tell them why they're not showing up every day. So when they don't show up, I write a letter. I send it off to the caseworker. This is why they haven't shown up. This is the reasoning behind it. And they cut and paste that letter into their file. That made their day 10 times easier, and they came back. So I'm understanding their product or service. They're understanding my product or service because I'm telling them what I can do for them. Not what I sell, not what I provide. What can I do for you? And that's their understanding of my product or service. Now also, in turn, let's take a look right at the playing field, okay? The frontline staff. You need to know and they need to understand your product or service. Okay, when they call you on the phone and they're asking you, so when I buy this, what's going to happen with it? You need to understand that product so that you can relay the information. If they know you're knowledgeable with your product or service and you can relay that information to them, then they're going to be able to understand it more thoroughly and maybe value the fact that that may not necessarily be for them, and then you're not serving or providing a product to someone that has no use for it. So they need to understand your business, your product, what you have to offer, and you need to understand theirs. Appreciate the power of yes. Feel free to always say, yes, I can do that for you. Because you can. You may not be able to do it within the confines of a policy or a procedure, but you can definitely assist in some way or another that's going to go above and beyond your competitor. Encourage your employees and other staff members and yourself to apologize. Take away that ego. It's not worth it. Be wrong. You don't have to say, well, I was wrong, I'm sorry, say, well, I apologize for your circumstance. I apologize that that happened to you. This is what I would like to do for you to rectify it. Know that you can make mistakes. And this is part which we will discuss about staff engagement. Allowing your staff to know that they can make mistakes. will help further engage them in your business and customer service for your business. Give more than what is expected. So it'll go above and beyond. Ask for feedback and respond to it. A lot of times when you're dealing with customers, you may just simply say, so what do you need today? Great, writing it down, and that's the end of it. Ask them, so how was the last product that you received? Did it suffice? Make sure that when they give you that response, that you provide them with your response and feedback to their suggestions. Don't just say, oh yeah, well we've tried that before, it's never worked, we're not going to do that again. Make them feel engaged in your product or service by valuing their opinion. Because every single person has an opinion worth value. And you may not see it today in your roles, but 2 or 3 days later, you're going to say, wow, what they said actually makes sense. And treat your employees as you would like to be treated. And I'm not sure, is anybody here, nobody's an owner of a business here at this point, right? No, but your managers and your supervisors, some of you. This is a key element. Benefits of customer service. By providing exceptional customer service and wowing your customers, you'll create customer loyalty, retention, and happy employees. A loyal customer is priceless to you. It's a lot different than a satisfied customer. A satisfied customer was satisfied with that one product or service for that one time. A loyal customer is going to come back. That person is going to generate income for you. They're also a marketing tool. That loyal customer will tell 5 other people how great your product or service was. The satisfied customer is going to say, oh, that's great, see you later. Tomorrow I'm going to shop at Walmart because it's cheaper. But the loyal customer is going to come to you and say, I'm shopping with you today because you made me feel good. You understand what I want. You listened to me. You asked me questions about me. You remembered my name. Retention, customer retention. If you retain your customers, you can increase your profits by 100%. So by having your customers come back, your profits will increase 100%. If you are able to resolve a problem for a customer within 24 hours of that problem or complaint, then you will retain that customer. And this is where frontline staff are extremely important because only 5% of complaints come to upper management. It's the frontline staff that know of 45% of the complaints. 50% of those complaints are never heard. The people leave. They go somewhere else. A complaint is directly related to the retention of that customer and how you deal with that complaint. And I'm not necessarily in this capacity here today that's another workshop, to do customer complaints and how to deal with them.
That's a good one.
Yeah. But I want you to understand that by delaying providing feedback to that customer is something that will make that customer go away. Can somebody tell me about a complaint that they've had within their environment and how they've dealt with it? just briefly review it. Do you have policies within your companies that say that you have to deal with a complaint within a certain period of time? Yeah. And what is that time frame?
We have to respond to our customers within 5 days. We're heavily regulated by the Ontario Energy Board, so if it hasn't been dealt with by the office, the customer can call the Ontario Energy Board and put a formal complaint in as well, and then the Ontario Energy Board will come back to us, and then we have 21 days to respond to the Ontario Energy Board what we did to try to resolve this customer's complaint.
What you did. And is there any direct communication with the customer?
The first thing we have to do is call the customer.
Okay. Within 5 days. Yeah. Good. And that's a policy procedure that you're dealing with, okay? And the customer may say to you at that point when you're calling them, well, geez, I complained about this like 5 days ago. How come I never heard from anybody before then? Don't throw out at them, well, our policies indicate that we only can respond to you within 5 days. Turn that around. Don't throw policies at customers. Don't say to them, that is our policy, I'm sorry, I'm doing it within our policy. Say to them, I've received your complaint. I've dealt with your complaint and I've looked at your complaint, and prior to calling you, I wanted to ensure I had the best resolution possible. Anyone else? Have a good one? You must have a great one.
I can't think of one, but I do know I do try to, because I'm dealing more on a personal basis and probably less of a customer basis, less numbers, always the same day. And if I don't have an answer, I will not go home unless I hear from you the same day. And if I don't have an answer, then I will let them know. I'll say, this is what I'm doing to try to resolve this problem. I don't have an answer for you right now, but I am looking into it.
Yeah, and that is exceptional to do that and respond to them in that manner. So you may not have an answer right away, but at least they know you're thinking of them. They know that you've thought about what they'd like to hear.
The other thing is too, and this is just what you're taught sometimes as a kid, is if you find that something's gone wrong, and maybe before it even gets to the customer, I try to make the first whatever.
Yeah.
Call them and go, this is what happened, and this is this is the result, this is what's going to happen, and this is, what I'm going to try and work to resolve the problem. So that like let's say their red thing, I get a notification their red package is stuck at the border or something. I will call them and say, your red package is stuck at the border, your customer's not going to be getting it today.
Yeah.
Let your customer know, because we're dealing this way. So that way, I'm not getting the call.
So what you're doing, Denise, you're foreseeing the problem.
Yeah.
Right? And she's dealing with that problem before it becomes a problem. Thus, when that customer gets that call, they're not going to be as aggravated by it. They're probably going to still ship. They're probably still going to buy your product or service because you took the initiative and foresaw what was happening and ensured that they were aware of it before they actually found out. There's a business that I assist, and they had a shipping problem with motorcycles. There were customers that had placed deposits. So these are $10,000 motorcycles. They placed deposits on these motorcycles. They didn't come over the border. They actually took 3 weeks to come. They were delayed 3 weeks. So the business owner said to me, well, geez, I don't know what to do. I said, well, let's try this. You need to call them. Have you called them to say that it's delayed? No, I haven't done that yet. Geez, I don't know what to do. I don't know when they're coming in. I'm not going to call them right now. You need to call them. You need to tell them what's happening. And then you need to say, what are you going to do for them when they get there? Because they've already placed a $1,000 deposit on these $10,000 motorcycles. What are you going to do for them? How are you going to go above and beyond? I don't know what I'm going to do. Geez. Well, you know what? You're going to put that bike in the back of your truck, and you're going to hand deliver it to that person. customer has now come back for a second bike. If that individual, if that business owner did not do that, they would not have come back. Most likely. Because there are a lot of other places to go and buy a motorcycle. So that is the difference between retaining a customer and not retaining a customer. That's a major part of that. Happy employees. If you have good customer service, you're going to have happy employees. Why do I say that? Well, there's going to be less stress in the work environment. They're going to go home with smiles on their face. They're going to know that they're supported by upper management or their supervisor or whoever it may be. The relationship between the customer and the employee, if it's happy, then the employee's happy and the customer's happy. If you have a disgruntled employee, how is that employee going to relay your product or service to a customer? And as another example, there's an employee at a business that I coach with, and the employee was causing a lot of difficulty for the business owner. They would hang up the phone and say, that person is just out to lunch. They're asking too much. And the business owner didn't really know where to go with this. I said to them, well, how about you sit down and talk to them and ask them if they were to come into this business and ask for that product or service, what would they expect? And they said, well, I'd never ask for what they're asking. Why not? Why can't you? Just speaking to employees, allowing them to understand the importance of customer service, the importance of keeping that customer happy, and the importance of going above and beyond what is expected is going to make their life easier. They'll do it. They're going to go home happier. So how do we get our staff to buy into wowing our customers? How do we ensure that our staff are on the same page as we are? Some ideas? I'm going to pass around a little pencil. And this pencil indicates that you have to tell me 3 things about how you feel you can engage your staff. How are you going to get them to wow your customers? And when you're done, you can move it along.
3 things?
3 things. And if you can only do 2, that's okay.
Okay. Recognition.
Yes.
And that isn't necessarily financial. Can this count as 2? Not just financial recognition or a reward system, I guess is what it could be. The other one is, gee, you did a great job. And it's just a verbal recognition. I think I'm going to have to pass this. Sorry.
The last person's going to have some different.
Tina, you're killing me here. All the ideas are going to be taken.
I guess have your staff understand what your core business is, what your mission is, where you want the company to go.
Make sure that they're knowledgeable in what you're trying to do. If they don't know what you're trying to do, then how are they supposed to do it?
Provide training.
Yes.
I was going to say just get them actively involved in where the company is going so that they know exactly what your goals are and what they can get out of it, like whether there's room to move up and that sort of thing. Also incentive programs, so ways for them to almost compete against each other to get the best customer service or something like that.
Great.
I would say
set an example daily. I think that's,
What do you mean by that? Set an example.
well, however you want your staff to carry out customer service, that's how you should be treating your staff.
Yes.
And that's what they should be hearing you when you're dealing with customers. You know, they should be emulating whatever you're doing. They only have one. I think what we've learned too is customers is what makes our business. I mean, this is just it's down to the nitty gritty of it. Is if we don't have customers, we don't have a business. We don't have a business. We don't have a job.
That is a very important point.
Yeah, and I think what you said too is about, and what I've learned is there's a lot of stuff going on out there, and sometimes people's reaction to what's going on in their business is not only what's going on there, it's their whole life is involved in this. So if they're whatever going off the handle at you, there's a whole lot of other things that could be going on there. So you just need to deal with what your responsibility is in the situation and try and fix what you can. And just know that maybe it's not personal why they're, whatever. So don't take it personal.
Take a step back, understand why they are in the position they're in and why they're speaking to you the way they're speaking to you. And that goes back to knowing your customer.
Yeah.
You found out that John was going through a divorce. Today his wife left. That's a bad day for John. Well.
And sometimes too, we have customers that are dealing, like they're selling to somebody else too. So they're getting yelled in this ear. So and this is what I talk to, we're going, yeah, I'm getting yelled at this ear, so I'm yelling out here. So I go, I understand perfectly. You need to call me 6 times a day because your customer is yelling at you and calling me 6 times a day. You may call me 6 times a day.
Right.
But
and you're the only person in that role in your business?
no, we have 2 of us.
There are 2 of you?
Role, yeah. I do U.S., she does Canadian and international. So, yeah, we can talk.
And she's not here today?
But you know when you say when we get off the phone, because I know sometimes we get off the phone, we do kind of go, blah, 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 blah. Oh my goodness, calm down. But sometimes there's a bit of venting going on there too, but I think you're right, we can't get too negative, so I think you can kind of feed into that if you get too negative, so it's probably better to try and keep positive around each other in a positive atmosphere.
Yeah, and when they talk about the whole how to deal with a disgruntled employee, which is coming, or a disgruntled customer, which is coming in the workshop. I'm not sure who's doing that one. The whole thing about allowing your employees to vent, it's important. They do need to vent. They do need to, that's part of engaging them in your business environment. If you do not allow them to speak freely in relation to what's been occurring, they're not going to get feedback from others. And therefore, if someone comes to you and says, you won't believe what this person did today to me, then you can provide them feedback from a standpoint where you weren't directly involved in that altercation or whatever it may be. And you can allow them to stand back and see a different perspective. And that's going to help them out. Also, just allowing someone to vent is going to think, wow, today, I had such an awful day at work. So-and-so did this, and this happened, and this happened. But, Denise helped me out. She sit there, and I talked to her about it. And so tomorrow, I'm walking back in with a smile on my face. There's some government offices that do not allow employees to communicate with each other. They sit in a cubicle. This is actually true. Believe it or not.
I think I've been there.
I'm not going to name it. But they sit in a cubicle circle and they have a supervisor walk around, ensure that at 8 o'clock in the morning when they're there, that there's this little ball in the back of their chair and they're there. And if they leave, that ball has to be given to someone else and there has to be a reasoning behind why they're leaving. People don't stay there. They move on. So there has to be a happy medium, right? You can't, in order to engage your staff, you have to treat them as people. You have to allow them that venting. Okay, we're passing the pencil.
Actually, Priscilla has it. Over to you, Priscilla.
The only thing I would think would be good is maybe to keep regular meetings with the employer and the employee, you know, to talk about stuff that they're doing right and to give them hints on stuff maybe that they're having more difficulty handling customer service, and give them cues and tips and tricks that they could use to better service the customers. And by making it a regular meeting, then, you know, the employee won't feel out of place if they have a question, because they know they're going to have that meeting with their employer that they could discuss their customer service issues with. So I think just making that regular time to sit with their employees would definitely help engage them in their customer service.
And that's a key word, regular.
Yeah.
So something where if you have, well, we had a meeting last week. We don't know when the next one's going to be, maybe 2 months from now, or it could be next week. Whenever there's a problem, we have a meeting. You're familiar. That is, it's so very important, even if you don't necessarily have things to bring to the table as a supervisor for that meeting. Have your meeting. Allow your employees to bring something to the table for discussion. Allow them to interact with each other. Have scenarios that you may, you know, a meeting doesn't always have to be about what's going wrong today. Everybody say something positive that happened today, and then let's discuss it. So regular is very important, and that allows them to engage and be a part of the company and understand that the company values their opinions. Heather?
I have been desperately trying to think of something beyond, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. Yeah, because that was mine. I love that idea. That, modeling the behavior and stuff. And I think of Sandy, because she deals with all kinds of different people who deal with trying to get into the trades. And it's really confusing, and you would know from working in the kind of field that you do that there's all kinds of different services out there. And so Sandy becomes that place of where the buck stops. Yeah. So if they don't know where to go and where to they're all confused. And she says, oh, this is where you should do, boom, boom, boom. If you get stuck, call me back. Yes. And it's like, they know now that they've got a relationship with somebody, they can say, I got stuck. And then they, and so then when I answer a question, because I know this much about trades, if I can't get a hold of Sandy, then I say, if you get stuck, call me back. And that gives me the time to go and say, someone wants to become an electrician and they're doing whatever. So that you can, so that whole modeling of that.
And that's making sure that there's a resource for your staff to go to if they don't know an answer. And ensuring that that resource is available. So, if they're supposed to go to Johnny to find out the answer to a question, and Johnny is never available, then they're going to feel disconnected. They're not going to be able to feel that they can actually perform their duties appropriately as how they would like to perform them.
Hi, okay. I don't remember your name, but I loved what she brought up with the whole incentive programs thing, because that was another thought on my mind, and I just think that's a terrific idea.
Yeah.
Whether it's, employee of the month, because people just seem to eat that up, or, you're offering a raise of some sort. I mean, there's just all sorts of incentives that you can give. Anyways, so I just wanted to add to that. I have down a couple of things. Just let them know, plain and simple, it's good business sense to give good customer service. It's just, in my mind, it's pretty much implied that you give good customer service. Like when you go to a restaurant, for instance, it's just implied that you're supposed to leave a tip for your server. Some things you should just know. So just, kind of throw that out there. That's just, plain and simple. And then another thing I have down is, Your place of employment, whether successful or not, I think a lot of people will take it personally and think that it may reflect them as a person. For instance, with the office I work at, if we put on a really successful event, and I say, yeah, I work at the office that put that event on, I'm really proud to say that, you know, that's my place of employment, and look how well this event did. On the other hand, if we don't have any success, it's like, yeah, I work at an office. You know, it's not something that I want to, you know, get out there. So I think people will look at, you know, their place of employment if they are successful, just being proud to say that, yeah, I work at that place. And if it's not too great, it's more of a, I work at that place, or just not mentioning it at all, right? So good customer service reflects all that.
And allowing them to understand, giving them a little bit more. So what happens if you're not having, if you didn't have a successful event and they walk away feeling kind of down and out because of it? How can you turn that around? How can you engage them the next time? So you want to present something else, and you want to propose another event, but nobody wants to really be involved because it wasn't so good last time. How do you turn that around so that they will become engaged in their company and provide the service to their customers because you know that it's required? Well, you can look at it. You can do some research on why maybe that wasn't successful the first time. Offer that information to your customer. Get out there and say, you know, the first time that Walmart did an event like this, they only had 2 people. The second time, they had 8 people. The third time, they had 15 people. So find where in history what's happened in relation to such an event and go forward with that. Give them that information. The more information that you can provide to your employees about your customers, about your product, about your policies, about your procedures, then the more engaged they're going to feel within the business.
Just have a question. How do you get your staff engaged in giving great customer service when, for example, in my business, we're an essential service. Everyone needs hydro.
Right.
So you get a lot of people calling in high bill complaints, especially with the time of use and stuff like that. I'm finding that the staff are like, I guess their attitude is like, well, you have to have hydro, right? So, you know, like.
So they're indifferent?
You know, like, it's just that I find that they just treat the like, you know, pay your bill, you know, and you'll have your hydro and hang up the phone type thing, right? So I'm finding that they're not, you know, and I know it's like, it's a call center, it's a different environment, right? So, and they're under pressure where we have great service and, you know, that stats that we have to report back to the Ontario Energy Board. So it's very, you know, it's a call center environment, right? So
and
their first thing is like, I gotta get my calls in,
Yes.
you know, I gotta, so they just wanna like, on the phone, off the phone, on the phone, off the phone. So I don't feel like the customer is getting the best service.
Well, that would be twofold. They do have gauges to meet, obviously. It is a very highly stressed environment, usually within call centers. Role playing. Maybe you could work with them in relation to that. So let's pretend, have a meeting and discuss with them, okay, you're the person on the other end of the phone. I'm the person in the call center. And role play with them and say, okay, well, I'm just hanging up on you. Sorry, you just need hydro, pay the bill, bye. How does that make you feel? Get them to write down how that made them feel as the customer. And by actually placing themselves in the customer's shoes and understanding that customer, the next time around they may change. They may add a little bit more to their conversation with that person. In relation to the strict policies and procedures, that's within the confines of the organization, and that's difficult to change, I guess.
Yeah.
So they do have things that they do have gauges that they have to meet. But it's very important that the employee understands the customer, knows the customer, and has empathy toward the customer to a point. And role-playing is one way of doing that.
Do they offer alternatives or options, like if someone's bill's really high, do they then say, well, I can look here, I can see that you're using it during the prime time? Do they then offer them an option of, well, if you could use it after? Do
Yeah,
they do that as well?
they do, always go through the whole scenario and that, and I hear them, but then I hear the call just like, it's sort of like tanks, And I'm sitting there like, oh my, it's like, give me the call, give me the call.
So feedback, if you hear something like that, do you go and discuss it with them? Maybe the next time around, try this.
Yeah.
Or, so right away, that immediate feedback, and say, that sounded wonderful. You did everything that you were supposed to do. You're moving on to your next call as you're required. However, let's think about the fact that how that person feels on the other end. Maybe you could try this or do this. And then that immediate feedback is going to let them think they know, as a supervisor, that you care about them. That's going to engage them, and the next time around, they're going to maybe say 1 or 2 extra words before they move to that next person.
Like I'll hear it and I'll get up, right? And I'll, like, you need me to speak to the customer, or
Yeah.
you need help or something like that. But fortunately, right now I'm actually in the midst of the call center. I don't have an office where my manager has an office, so she doesn't hear it, right? But I'm hearing all of the calls right now. Sometimes I'm sitting there going, oh my God.
Is there feedback, like some sort of a communicative board for employees where they have, when you're hearing all of these things, they come to you and say, you won't believe what happened today, this is what this person said to me, how do I deal with that? Do you have a communicative board that says, this was an actual situation that happened today, this is how it was dealt with? And then rate that in relation to, it was exceptional or not so much, but that maybe get a little tricky. Maybe only put the good ones up and they can actually see, and you can actually put a person's name to it. This is how so-and-so dealt with it. And that's a way to engage your employees and say, that was a great job.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have online communication that way where you can do that, or even just a board like that. This is what I heard today. This is how Sandy dealt with this situation. It was exceptional. Post that.
Yeah,
The rest of them will read it, and they'll say, wow, next time I get that, I'm going to say that too, so I can be on the board.
Yeah. Usually they hang out the phone and then, oh my God, like to the other customer service reps, things are going to improve, and
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah.
Would they offer the option of, would you like to speak to my supervisor?
Oh,
They do that.
yeah.
No, that's what I'm
They
saying.
probably do
like-
that right away.
Well, most of the time,
Take
if
a
they're not
look.
getting anywhere, they always, the customer always says, okay, I want to go somewhere higher, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
There's 2 team leaders before they get to me, so, there is like, but if it's come to me, then it's like, okay, I said, let me talk to them and I'll try and deal with the problem. And usually, if the customer walks in and they want to speak to the supervisor, then as soon as I walk up, then I find that the customer comes down a few levels because they know they're talking to someone at a higher level and might get an answer raised.
And there is definitely that perception that when you go, the person on the front line seems to get the worst of everything. And then as it moves up the grade, the customer does tend to calm down a bit, for whatever reason that may be. That is how it is. Within the capacity, from my personal perspective, there would always be a problem. If a student had a problem with a teacher, they be very angry at the teacher, but then when they would come to the manager, they'd be angry at the manager, but not as angry. And then when I got to my level, as the director, I heard all the great things about the teacher, the great things about the manager, but this was the problem, and it was easier to deal with because how they relayed their information to upper management was entirely different. And you need to understand that as upper management personnel, that you can't downplay how that frontline staff is receiving that information, because most likely they are receiving that information in a manner in which you are not. And you need to understand that they're getting the brunt of it. And you need to accept that, and you need to be empathetic of that.
Yeah,
So
it's
just
very
by
apparent
saying-
in our business too.
Yeah.
Lots of times I'll hear like, if you don't stop swearing, I'm gonna hang up the
Yeah.
call. You know, I don't have to listen to that type stuff. And then when they pass it to me, there's no swearing.
And it's very difficult for an employee, and engagement with an employee is not going to occur if you continually, as upper management, say, well, that's not how they were with me, so I don't know what you're talking about. That is how they are with them. And you need to understand that, and you need to be empathetic of that, and allow them to speak to you about how they were spoken to. Because if that stays within, then it's only going to cause someone to be very upset. Okay, so that was great ideas. Get excited. If you're excited about customer service, if you're excited about providing the best customer service, then they're going to be excited. It'll filter down. If you walk into work every day and you are feeling down and out and you're like, geez, I don't want to be here, your presentation to your employees is going to filter down to them. And so how you are will help them. So that's like the do what you see and that sort of thing. Have clear guidelines. Make sure that they know the policies and the procedures. They don't throw them at the customer. They don't say, well, that's not our policy, sorry, I can't help you. They need to know where they fit within the company environment. Measure their success. Whether that be through incentive programs, whether that be through employee of the week, employee of the year, employee of the month. You have a measurement of success in relation to the call center, so there's gauging. The board, where you put up successful events, successful occurrences. Offer incentives. And as Sandy said, they don't have to be monetary incentives. They could be a gift card to Tim Hortons. They could be a day off. If you have an employee that's on salary, they're getting paid anyway, give them a day off. You know it's not going to be a busy day? Here you go, take this off. We can't afford to pay you extra money for this, or the program isn't valued based on at a monetary level. However, it's valued based on days off. Thus, you're encouraging and improving quality of life in people by offering them time to go and do some personal stuff. You're showing you care. Be accepting of error. If you make a mistake, let others know. I made a mistake yesterday. This is what I did wrong. When they make a mistake, ensure that you're accepting of that error. And we all know that there's going to be limits to that. However, we need to understand that people are going to make mistakes, and not everything is going to run smoothly. And ensure your employees are aware of who pays them. Somebody said this, I think it was Denise, right? The customers pay them. If you're in a service business, the people you're serving pay you. And if they're not happy, then you're not going to receive a paycheck. In the call center, if the employees need to understand that the people on the other end of the phone are their customers, and they are the ones providing that paycheck. And you know what? Anything could happen. There could be a private corporation come in and offer that customer service to those employees. Tenfold. It's happened, right? So we need to understand that our customers are everyone. So they can be other businesses as well. Why is staff engagement important? And I talked about this briefly, 5% of complaints are heard by upper management. 45 are known by the frontline staff. 50% of individuals don't voice their complaint. They walk away and they go somewhere else. You need to hear those complaints. If your customer knows the last time that they had a complaint, it was dealt with effectively and promptly, and they were satisfied with the result, then they're going to come back to you. If they walked away because you didn't provide them with any feedback, because you didn't know, they're never going to be a return customer, and your customer retention is going to fall. What's in it for me principle. So in order to ensure that your employees and your customers to help improve customer service, your employees need to understand what's in it for them. So this is the second page. The employees need to know that when they walk in the door, what are you going to provide for them as an employer? A lot of people are placed into a position in a work environment where if you ask them, how many holidays do you get a year? I don't know. Nobody's told me. How many companies have an employee handbook?
Yeah.
You have a handbook? That's so important. Did your
Probably have to create it.
That's imperative. That's a reference guide for employees. That tells them what's in it for them when they're in the company. Employee handbooks could be 2 pages long. They could be 10 pages long. They're usually about 25 to 50 pages long. Yeah, well. So by allowing them that information, that tells them when they're here every day, here's some programs that we can offer you. These are our incentive programs. If you meet these gauges, you're going to get 2 days off. And this is how you go about doing it. If you have some expenses, here's a sheet that you fill out and you submit it every payroll, and this is your expense sheet. All of those things help an employee to understand what's in it for them when they enter into that company. With customers, customers need to know that when they walk through the door, what you're going to do for them, not what they're going to do for you. They're not just going to pay you $5 for your product or service. What are you going to do for them? Don't sell them your product or service. Don't tell them all about it. Well, you know, it's a wonderful piece of machinery. It's going to provide you with high capacity widgets every day. What is in it for them if they buy that from you or they buy your service? So Sandy offers exceptional customer service where if Heather has a problem, she says, call Sandy. Because I know that Sandy's going to help you out. What's in it for that person then? To speak to Sandy as opposed to speaking to someone else. That's not going to go above and beyond. Heather knows that Sandy will do that. Sandy will probably walk down to Durham College with the individual. I know. And I've only met Sandy once and I already know that. And help them find their way around. That's above and beyond. There are so many times in my business where I had somebody go into college and they were so nervous. And the caseworker would say to me, well, if they're going to college, they should be able to figure all that out themselves. They should be able to figure out how to apply to it, what to fill in. Geez, I'm sorry, they really can't. This is overwhelming. So my managers would say to me, Tina, can I go with them? Yes, you can. Just don't drive in the same car. So that is allowing people to realize what's in it for them. They're going to come back to you because they know what you're going to do for them. Telling people what you do and selling them the service is not the same. Never make someone figure out what you're offering. So if you have a website or any sort of correspondence, whether it be paper or online, Ensure that you're always placing very clearly what you're able to provide them. Make sure your contact information is clear. Don't make the customers look for what they want. Have it there. They shouldn't search around looking for something. And I had a business owner say to me, well, you know, they should be able to find on the website where that is. They just have to click here, 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 and here, and it's right there. They called me yesterday, and I told them to click here, 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 and here. I said, well, what if they don't know how to use that computer? Everybody knows how to use a computer. No, they don't. How much effort would it have been for you to say to them, let me walk you through it? Or what is it that you actually need? I'll order it for you, even though it's online. I'll do that for you. That's what's in it for that customer. They're going to call you back because they don't know how to use a computer. They don't want to click here, here, and here. They want to speak to somebody. You've just learned a little bit about that customer. The next time they call back, oh, John doesn't know how to use a computer, so I'm just going to do it for him. For an employee to be engaged, they need to feel physically, intellectually, and emotionally attached to their work. And how do we go about doing that? We talked about commitment, motivation, getting excited. You need to be excited, they need to be excited. Measure their success. And physically, if somebody's not feeling very good that day, or they have a bad back, then try to make their environment as comfortable as possible. And how do you do that? Well, there's a lot of services that will allow employers or help employers in assisting and accommodating people with physical disabilities. And if you don't have a physical disability, in the call center environment, I'm sure that they have someone come in and make sure that all the, everything's set up ergonomically so that when they're sitting there all day, they're comfortable. By making people comfortable physically, then they're going to perform better for you. Intellectually, know your employees, know if they want to be stimulated in relation to what they're doing. Some people don't want that. Some employees are happily engaged by doing everything the same every day. Others want that extra task. And emotionally, ask them how they are today. Care about them. If you have a happy employee, then you're going to have happy customers. If you have happy customers, you're going to have happy employees. It's a circle. And I'm just touching briefly on things. So on the last page, what we've discussed today is briefly to get out there, wow your customers, go above and beyond. I would think that everyone here today is going to go back and think, well, it's not really in my job to do this for the customer. But guess what? I'm going to try that tomorrow. I'm going to call them back and just see how they're doing. I'm going to foresee that they're going to have a problem with this product or service, and I'm going to give them a call and let them know. Create the bond that's going to create loyalty. Know who they are, listen to them. Communication and listening skills are imperative. And active listening skills. Don't just let it come in one ear and out the other, and then walk away. And some people have a hard time remembering people's names. So when they come in the next day, you may think, oh, geez, I was listening so hard at what they wanted, I forgot who they are, darn, 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 darn. Well, you know what, sometimes there's little tricks, like if their name starts with an A, then think of apple, and it might bring it back to you. Try little things like that. You know what, it's okay if you don't remember their name. Say, geez, I remember speaking to you yesterday, and you had a problem with your son. Your son was going to school today, and he was really nervous. How did that turn out? Go into that, and don't be afraid to say, I'm sorry, I forgot your first name. What was your first name again? That's okay. We're all human, but you remembered an important aspect of their life. If that's how you are, if you can remember those things, over names, because everybody gets nervous about not remembering a name, then bring in the personal aspect of their life. And then bring it back, because you know what? They'll be happy that you remembered about their son. That's creating a bond which will create loyalty, and they will come back. Implement a few of these essential skills that we have today, and get your employees engaged, and the customer service within your company will expand and grow. So I'm at 9:30. The next workshop, I think, is October 5th, right? And it's developing and implementing customer service strategies. So it's going to go, mine was an overview, and this is going to go a little bit further into specific strategies that I think will help you with your day-to-day routines. And the facilitator is Robin Stillwell. She facilitates for the Ontario Self-Employment Benefit Program. She also facilitates for Essential Communications. She has a lot of years' experience in this field, over 40, I would say. And so thank you, everyone. And good luck next time. Sorry about my slide. I didn't have it there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.